Good evening, everybody. This is Cyrus here, back with another video. I am doing a video on this 1948 Dinky Toys Bedford stroke meccano dump truck. This was produced in 1948. So this is 4 years after World War II. This was also produced into the 1950s. As well. And then they had one that was being sold for 2 years around the 1960s that was painted red and cream, and that one had plastic inserts for the wheels instead of the metal wheels like on this one. So let's give it a little spin on the turntable. This is for an old-timer dump truck, this is a very nice piece in my opinion. Now there are some minor paint chips. It's not without some damage to the paint. I will admit that there are a few dings on this. However, I can easily let that slide, as there are versions that are in far worse where there's barely any paint. The base is rusted as well as the axles. Same thing goes with the gear mechanism to raise and lower the dump bed. You also would have all 4 tires missing, or sometimes only a few tires remaining. So all in all, the condition is, pretty fair in my opinion. I think there are a couple paint chips that are very minor on the cab pillars, as well as one right there on the hood right there. I'll give you a little quick look right there on the hood. But otherwise, the condition is pretty decent. So I paid, I think, around $50 or $40 for this, somewhere in that range, but it's an old timer, so essentially, the older it's going to get, the value is essentially going to go up more, and that's going to be like that with most Dinky toys, not just this one. This is also, I have a few Dinky toys in my collection, but this is one out of 2 dump trucks I have that are made by Dinky Toys. I have this one, and then I also have a Euclid dump truck that I did a video on my channel a while back, if you want to check that one out. Well, it wasn't really a while back. It was kind of recent, as my channel's still quite new, but if you want to go check out that video, you can. As for the truck itself, you do have some painted in red stripes on the fenders and cab, which I think were some person customized and give the inclusion of like some lights and turn signals on this truck. But although it might decrease the value a little bit, I'm going to let it slide, as it's not completely painted over and looks all sloppy. So that's nice. And then you'll notice that that the silver on the bumper and grille is a little bit smudged. It was actually painted like that on the real life, well, not on the real life, but on the original versions of this truck. So it's not been painted on the front or anything. Just want to quickly make that clear. Now, seeing as it's a dump truck, what do we want all dump trucks to do? Be able to dump. So let's get some rocks in there. And I'll stop the turntable as well so we can see how well it does. All right, I'll turn it a little bit. I'm going to turn the crank handle. We're going to get a better look at the dump height on this truck. Might need to also raise it with my fingers a little bit. I'm going to have to pull it over to the side a little, I guess, as this turntable is kind of going to interfere. There, now I can kind of get it a bit more raised. There we go. All right, it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, the crank system is working. Let's see if we can do this without my hand getting in the way too much, and hopefully you can see a little bit of the dump height happening. Come on. I'm trying to be careful not to break it because this is an old toy. There we go. There's only a couple rocks that got lodged in the corners there, but otherwise it discharged the load pretty well. So let's get the rocks back in there and then give it another try. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my thumb in front of the tailgate Get the rocks back in there, because I don't want to have to re-lower it and repeat the same process, since it is kind of a little bit stiff to crank. But yeah, it worked successfully. So the dump height on this truck is very, very good. Past the flying colors, some of the older dump truck toys, as well as some of the newer ones, the dump height wasn't all that good, and it was almost horizontal, so you couldn't really get, if you're in any bulk material out of the dump bed, if you put any bulk material in there, that is. So I'll get the rocks cleaned up, and then I also want to go over a couple last thoughts on this truck. So obviously, for those of you who collect construction vehicles and dump trucks like this one, when you have a dump truck, you're going to want to display it with some other construction vehicles. Essentially, with this particular one, you might want to display it with a steam shovel, as usually when you buy older dump trucks, you want to display them with equipment from around the same time period that they were in use. So Dinky Toys has come out with a couple of steam shovels, or as far as I'm aware, I know that another die-cast company that was also doing British Casting's Corgi toys, they did a steam shovel as well. I don't know if those are going to scale with the dump truck is the only problem. So that you would need to find out for yourself. Otherwise, if they do, this would work perfectly. You could have the two older machines, or maybe have like an old style excavator from like the 1960s or something you could display with this that's roughly about the same scale. In terms of the construction vehicles I have in my collection, I only have one vehicle that will scale well with this dump truck. It's not from the same era. It's a newer vehicle. It's a Cat 2D3 skid steer loader. And, well, it's not around the same time period. It does scale well, and if I adjust the vehicles a little bit. So hopefully I can find one of those two steam shovels in the future, because, yeah, or maybe they have a model company that made a steam shovel that will scale with this dump truck. If that's the case, good to hear. Otherwise, most likely you could display this with maybe a worker with a shovel or something, as probably around the earlier times they would have had to use shovels to load up the truck's bed with bulk material. That concludes my review on this Bedford dump truck. Let me know in the comments what you guys think down below. Until next time, have a good day, guys. Bye.